continue now at the top of Daf Gimel Amud Aleph and Meseches Rosh Hashana. This is Rosh Hashana Daf 3a. The Gemara is in the middle of proving that Aaron HaKohen dies before Sichon is defeated, and the Gemara quotes a pasuk. The pasuk says, "Vayishma HaKnani Melech Arod." It says that the Kanani, the king of Arod, heard. And the Gemara, as it's going to say later, the Gemara is going to say that this king of Arod really refers to Sichon. In any case, the Gemara says, "Mashmua Shama." What did the king of Arod hear? Shama Shemeisa Aaron. He heard that Aaron died. And now the Anani HaKavod, the clouds of glory, had been removed. And therefore he thought, Nitna Rishus Leilachem B'Yisrael, that now permission was given to fight a war against Klal Yisrael. In other words, you see clearly that the king of Arod, who we're going to say is Sichon, heard that Aaron died, and that's when he begins his war against Klal Yisrael. So you see again that Aaron dies first, and Sichon is only defeated later. And the Gemara continues, V'hainu Dichsiv, that's what the pasuk means when it says, Vayiru kol ha'eda ki gava Aaron. All of the congregation saw that Aaron died. V'yomer Rabbi Avo, and Rabbi Avo says, Al tikri vayiru. Don't read it as vayiru, and they saw. Ela vayiru. What it means is, and they were revealed. In other words, they were revealed because the anane hakavod, they were removed. And therefore you have to read it, and they were revealed because Aaron died. Kid the Reish Lakish, you have to read this pasuk like Reish Lakish says. The Amar Reish Lakish, because Reish Lakish says, Ki meshamish bedalad l'shonos. The word ki can be used to mean four different things. Dilma ela daha. It can mean if, maybe, rather, and because. So here we're not reading it as and they saw that Aaron died. Again, we're reading it and they were revealed because Aaron died. That's why we're bringing Reish Lakish over here, because the word ki can mean daha, can mean because. And so the Gemara now asks, Mi dami, can you really compare this pasuk to our discussion? Hasam Kanan, Hachasichon. Over there we're talking about Canaan. Again, it says Vayishma HaKnani. And here we're talking about Sichon. Sichon was not the king of Canaan. So the Gemara says, Tana hu Sichon hu Arod hu Canaan. So the Tana taught that Sichon, Arod, Canaan, it all refers to the same person. Sichon shedoma l'sayich b'midbar. Sichon, the reason why he's called Sichon is because he was similar to a sayich in the midbar. A sayich is like a young horse, a foal. Canaan al shem malchuso. Canaan, that was because of his kingdom, was Canaan. Umash Shemo, and what was his name? Arod Shemo. His real name was Arod. Ika diamri, some have a different version. Arod shedomel Arod b'midbar. The reason why he's called Arod is because he was similar to a wild donkey in the wilderness. Canaan al shem malchuso. He was called Canaan again because of the name of his kingdom. Umash Shemo, and what was his name? Sichon Shemo. His name was Sichon. And the Gemara continues, Ve'ema Rosh Hashana Iyar. Why don't we say that Rosh Hashana is Iyar? This is referring to when we're counting from Yetzias Mitzrayim. The Gemara had established on the previous Amud that the Rosh Hashana, the beginning of the year, counts from Nisan and not from Tishrei. So the Gemara did prove that it was not Tishrei, but the question is maybe it's Iyar. Maybe Rosh Hashana is really Iyar. So the Gemara says, Lo salka daitach. Don't think that is the case. Tichsiv, because there's another pasuk that says, Vayhi b'chodesh harishon b'ashana hashenis be'echod lachodesh. It says that it was in the first month, in the second year, on the first of the month. Hukam hamishkan. That's when the Mishkan was put up. Uchsiv, and there's another pasuk that says, Vayhi b'ashana hashenis. It was in the second year, b'chodesh hasheni, in the second month. That would be the month of Iyar. Na leha'anan me'al mishkan ha'edus. The Anan rose up, the cloud rose up from on the Mishkan. And so the idea over here is we're calling again Nisan, we're saying it's the second year, and then an episode that happened afterward in Iyar is still in the second year. Midakoi ben Nisan v'kari la shana shenis. That's what the Gemara says. From the fact that in Nisan it's called year number 2. V'koi be'Iyar v'kari la shana shenis. And then we talk about something that happened in Iyar, we also call it year number 2. Mechlal de Rosh Hashana lav Iyar. Who that implies that Rosh Hashana is not Iyar. So again, when we're counting from Yetzias Mitzrayim, we're always counting from the month of Nisan. And so the Gemara continues, Ve'ema Rosh Hashana Sivan. Fine, so it's not Iyar. Maybe the Rosh Hashana is really Sivan. So to that the Gemara says, Lo sa'akadaitach. Don't let that enter your mind. Because the pasuk says, B'chodesh hashlishi l'tzeis b'nei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim. It says in the third month from when the b'nei Yisrael left Mitzrayim. Vim Isa. So if it was true again that Sivan is the Rosh Hashana, that it starts a new year, so what should it say? It should say B'chodesh hashlishi. B'ashana hashenis, let's say Svegomer. It should say the third month, meaning the month of Sivan, but it should already be the second year, because the year should change when Sivan comes mi boile. That's what it should have said. And so therefore you see again that Sivan is not Rosh Hashana either. And so the Gemara says Ve'ema Tammuz, Ve'ema Av, Ve'ema Adar. There's other choices as well. Maybe the Rosh Hashana is Tammuz. Maybe the Rosh Hashana is Av, maybe the Rosh Hashana is Adar. In other words, you don't know for sure that it's Nisan. There are other possibilities. And Rashi over here points out, Ve'ema Av, Ve'ema Adar, D'chol Chodashim Shebein Av L'Shvat, all the months that are between Av and Shvat, Pakalon Le'il, those have already been excluded. So any month between Av and Shvat we know for sure is not the Rosh Hashanah. Again, that's what the Gemara said in the previous Amud. The Gemara proved that from various psukim. So that's why the Gemara is not suggesting any months between Av and Shvat. And so the Gemara answers, Elomer Rebbe Elazar, rather Rebbe Elazar says, Mehacha, from here, from the following pasuk, is where we learn that when we count the years of kings, the Rosh Hashanah is going to be Nisan. It says in the pasuk in Divrei Hayamim Vayachel Livnos B'Chodesh Hasheni, it says he began to build on the second month. This is talking about Shlomo HaMelech. B'Sheni B'Shnas Arba L'Malchuso. And then it says B'Sheni in the fourth year of his kingship. So what does it mean over here, B'Sheni? Mai Sheni, what does it mean, Sheni? Lav Sheni L'Yerach Shemonin Bo L'Malchuso. Doesn't it mean to say that it's also the second month from how we count the years of the kings? In other words, the month of Iyar is month number 2 in terms of counting the years of kings, and that shows that Nisan, the first month, is the Rosh Hashanah L'Malachim. That's the Rosh Hashanah when we count the years of a king's reign. And so the Gemara says, Maskif lo Ravina. So Ravina asks, Ve'ema Sheni B'Chodesh. How do you know that's what Sheni means? Maybe B'Sheni means it was the second day of the month. And so the Gemara says, Imkain Sheni B'Chodesh Behed Yehav Ksiv Bey. If it meant the second of the month, it would have said Sheni B'Chodesh. It would have said the second of the month explicitly. So the Gemara says, Ve'ema B'Sheni B'Shabbos. Maybe B'Sheni over here means the second day of the week, meaning it means on Monday. So the Gemara says, Chada number 1, De Lo Eshkechon Sheni B'Shabbos Tichsiv. We don't find that the pasuk ever identifies Monday. We don't find that in other psukim in Tanakh. V'yod, and further, Makeh Sheni Basra L'Sheni Kama. We can compare the second time it says the word Sheni to the first time it says the word Sheni. Ma Sheni Kama Chodesh, just like in the beginning it says B'Chodesh HaSheni. It's talking about a month. Av Sheni Basra Chodesh, so too when it says again right after that B'Sheni, it means to say a month, and again it means to say the second month in terms of the way we count the years of the king's reign. And the Gemara continues, Tanya Kavasi de Rabbi Yochanan. We have a brisa that supports the position of Rabbi Yochanan. Rashi over here says, Tanya Kavasi de Rabbi Yochanan B'Kulei Kroi Da'isi L'El. Rabbi Yochanan brought a different pasuk before than Rabbi Elazar is bringing right now to prove that Nisan is the Rosh Hashanah L'Malachim. So this brisa is going to support Rabbi Yochanan. It's going to quote the same pasuk that Rabbi Yochanan brought. The brisa says, Minayin Shein Monin Lahem L'Malachim Ela Mi Nisan. How do we know that when we count the years of the king's reign, we count from the month of Nisan, Shenemar, like the pasuk says, Vahi b'shmonim shana v'yarba me'o shana l'tzeis b'nei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim v'gomer. Again, this was the same pasuk in Sefer Malachim that Rabbi Yochanan brought. Talks about the fact that it was 480 years after Yitzias Mitzrayim. Uchsiv, and it says, Vayal Aaron HaKohen al hor ahor al pi Hashem v'gomer. Uchsiv vahi bar boim shana b'ashtei asar chodesh. Uchsiv acharei hakoso esichon v'gomer. V'yomer vayishma haknani. V'yomer vayiru kolo edo ki gova Aaron v'gomer. V'yomer vahi b'chodesh harishon b'shana hashenis v'gomer. V'yomer vahi b'shana hashenis b'chodesh hasheni v'gomer. V'yomer b'chodesh hashlishi l'tzeis b'nei Yisrael v'gomer. V'yomer vayachel livnos v'gomer. These are all the psukim we brought before, and the Gemara here is bringing this brisa and these psukim in an abbreviated fashion. The Gemara continues, Amar Rav Chisda says, Lo shanu ela l'malchei Yisrael. This idea that the month of Nisan is the Rosh Hashanah l'Malachim is only true for Jewish kings, for kings over the land of Israel. But when it comes to non-Jewish kings, mitishrei manina, and then we count from Tishrei. Tishrei is the Rosh Hashanah l'Malachim for non-Jewish kings. Shenemar, like the pasuk says, Divrei Nehemiah ben Chakalia, vahi b'chodesh Kislev shnas esrim v'gomer. It says these are the words of Nehemiah. It was in the month of Kislev in the 20th year. Uchsiv, and the pasuk also says, vahi b'chodesh Nisan shnas esrim lar tachshasta v'gomer. It talks about the 20th year in the month of Nisan for Artachshasta, and the assumption here is that the Nisan is following Kislev. And so the Gemara says, Midakoi beKislev v'kari leishnas esrim, from the fact that Kislev is called the 20th year of Artachshasta. V'koi b'Nisan v'kari leishnas esrim, and Nisan is also called the 20th year of Artachshasta's rule. Michlal de Rosh Hashanah lav Nisan, who that implies that Rosh Hashanah is not Nisan. If Rosh Hashanah was Nisan, then it would already be the 21st year when Nisan came. And so the Gemara says, B'shloma heich mefaresh I understand the second pasuk. It says explicitly we're talking about the 20th year of Artachshasta. Elahai, but that first pasuk it says 20th year. Mimai deli Artachshasta. How do you know we're counting from the reign of Artachshasta? Dilma, maybe perhaps we're counting relative to something else. We'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Gimel Amud Beis.